Welcome one and all to the 34th episode of D&D. I am Mike.
And I'm Zoe.
And Zoe's sick again for a change. And there's a few things we need to do today. One thing that we need to do is fix the Jokers again, because we have play tested them. And it didn't go so well. There were a few changes we wanted to make, but there's at least one that I want to make right away, which is I want to reduce the amount of money lost from bankruptcy. So instead of bankruptcy losing all of your money, we're going to lose, say, half. Mm-hmm. And I think that will make the game a bit better. Now, we were also thinking about changing the sacks so that you just sort of drive into them and you collect them. But I'm afraid that may upset the balance too much. So at least for now, we're going to leave them as they are. So let's begin by changing that bankruptcy. Then there's other things we'll do today, obviously, because that's a very easy fix. So player should have a go bankrupt function. There it is. And this one says lose everything. So first of all, change this to
lose half.
Lose half. Half. Copy. Paste. Save. Okay. So there it is. Now change score. This one needs to be a little bit more complicated. So here we said score minus 10. That's not right. We actually need to calculate how much the half of the score is. So let's create an int here. Go int and call space half score or something.
Scott.
Equals. Yeah, save. So, because we want to maintain the multiples of 10, right, we are going to quickly divide whatever we have by 10 and then remultiply it by 10.
Okay.
So before we do that, we're going to say half score equals score. Yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever. Score divided by 10. 10. And then divided by 2. Semicolon. Save. So this isn't particularly clever. We could have just divided by 20, but I'm thinking for a moment. So close a bracket here. This should make a difference, but I want to be certain. Close it there. Save. Okay, so we are divided by 10 first, and then we're divided by 2. I'm sure this makes no difference, but you know. Okay, so then we're going to have to remultiply it by 10. So we're going to say half score times equals 10. Semicolon. Okay. Now, instead of this, we're going to copy half score.
Okay.
And paste it here. And change score. So here's the interesting question. If the number is not divisible by 2, we are going to lose 1. We're going to lose $10. Now those $10 need to remain if it's divisible by 2. What do we do? Well, we need to either pay attention to this or stop caring. And I've got an idea. So change this 10, put score minus half score. Save.
So that will give half the score. Whoops.
Are you done with the chaos? What are you doing? There's a bracket at the end. Save. Apparently when you're sick you lose 12,000 points of IQ. Alright, so if transform point is different than previous transform dot position is different than previous position, instantiate the effect for money in the transform position. Effects for money, transform dot rotation, get component, blah blah blah. Set up -1, car ID, lose half. What is that one there at the end? Because I can't remember. Effect ID. I don't remember. If transformed position is different than previous position. All right, we move it further down. I remember. Okay, give it a save. Actually, I think this will always make the bankruptcy look be further down, but whatever, it's no big deal. Lose half, blah blah blah. Okay, so time to test.
I'll just give lots of lols.
Yeah, we're just gonna do give thingy. Give lol. So I gave it to Green, who has a number that is not divisible by 2, 51. Here's the second is there. So it's got 41 now, 42.
Bonus turn.
Bonus turn, yes. 42 actually.
Yeah.
He's gonna get overtaken again, so he'll get a 40. Oh. So 210. That looks correct. So we only have one sack here, which means that that sack needs to be a 210. Tile object. 210. Accurate. Okay. That's pretty good. So it's a little bit more balanced.
It releases one sack of money.
Yeah.
And you still have some money left.
Okay, let's cheese this a little bit. Take all of the players. Score 5,000. Okay. Now obviously it's not updated, but it will update soon. Yeah, everybody has 5,000. Because we're cheating, our poor game doesn't understand that it's time to put coppers in there. We got a copper, we got another copper, another copper. Okay, let's give Joker
To blue.
to red. Green.
He has the copper. Right.
I'm gonna give it to myself twice. Because I've gotten 543, which is not an even number. So I want to see what happens then. Because this was an even number, so we will get 2,510.
There.
Okay, ready? 2720. Okay, wait. 2720 times 2 is 5,440. I wasn't paying much attention.
It was 430, I think. But he did get over-conquered. He did get... No, wait, he didn't. He didn't get run over.
So we got basically, did we get a bonus? Right? So the first object should be... Yeah, this is the one that we had before. So let's see, 480 plus 250. That makes 680, 730, 750, plus 190 is 940, 950, 1,150, 1,430, 1,560, 1,840, 2,220, and 2,710. Yes, it's correct. So the stuff that we dropped, it doesn't have the extra $10 that we kept. Yeah, okay, it's working perfectly. Sounds good. So I think this is going to be quite a bit better, hopefully. We're trying to reduce the length of the game a little bit. And so we don't make the lulls overpowered, because they were quite bad.
Especially when the bankruptcies are there, it took 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, next. Menus and all of that stuff. Right, so the first thing we're going to... Do you stop a code? Yes, I did. The first thing we're going to need is... We're going to need game states. Now, I don't like the game manager. It's growing really, really, really fat. But I don't think that we have much of an option. I mean, we could do all sorts of refactoring. This is not a refactoring class, so we're not doing that. Let's now build a new enum for the game state. So go public enum game state. Game state.
I know I put caps lock.
Open a squiggly, enter, close it, save. Okay, so we begin with splash, comma, equals 0, my bad, comma, enter title, comma, enter menu, comma, enter gameplay, comma, enter game over. Save. Okay, so these are the game states we will make. There's quite a lot of them. We have regions here, so that should help us at least a little bit. So setup, update, etc. Let's create a new region right here. So hashtag, as you guys call them. Yeah, well, that's not the one. It's on Shift 3.
Oh.
Region. Space. Call this one game state. Capital S. Okay. And region. As you can see, our Visual Studio is suffering here. Hit Shift Tab.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, now hit Caps Lock to make it go away. Save. Okay, so we got our little region here for the game state. Now, the first thing we'll need is we'll also need a variable here, which it's probably a good idea to make it public generally. So let's make it public. Public game state, game state. You made it lowercase, yes, capital. Save.
So why is gameplay lowercase?
Because it's one word only.
Oh.
Copy. And here we're gonna make a new void change game state. Open round. Request the game state G. Close, open squiggly, enter, close it. Yeah, ignore the fact that it's gone mental. Actually, don't. Shift Tab. Here you go, switch. G. Open, close, save. So before we continue writing this code, let's explain what it is that we are going to do. We are going to make it so that the camera controls what it's looking at.
Okay.
And at the moment it's not. So the board, for example, is not a child of the camera, but we're going to make these into children of the camera so we can display them and hide them as we want. Okay, so let's create an empty in the camera. Call this one overlays. Yeah. Now create another empty and rename this one 0 underscore splash. Yeah. Now create another empty and call this one 1 underscore title. Create another empty.
2 underscore menu.
2 underscore menu. Yeah. Enter. And create another empty. 3 underscore gameplay. And the last one, 4_game over. Capital O. Enter. Okay, save. So the board goes into gameplay. The overlay goes into gameplay. Right? Now, what can we do? We can hide gameplay, and it all goes. And now the camera is staring at nothing. Right. Actually, we should probably change the camera background color, but whatever. Sure, let's do it right now. So main camera. Oh, is it? It's staring at a skybox. I didn't know. Alright, solid color. I'm simply making it pitch black. Yeah, so let's display the gameplay again. That's how it looks like. Do you want something different?
I think it should be a less like black.
Well, I think gray is just boring, so let's try something like maybe dark green. Ugh.
Ugh.
This is deafeningly loud. There, this type of blue. Sure. I'm actually not convinced at all. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. It's not important for now. Okay. So, now all of this stuff is stuffed into gameplay. That's just fine. We need to store all of these as variables. So, we're gonna grab their game objects, I guess. So, right here, create a serialized field, private game object array, and screens. Semicolon. Save. Okay, so now we've got the screens in our game manager. It means we can feed it our screens. So we're gonna expand it. We're gonna say it's 5, and we're gonna say splash, you go here. Title, you go here. Menu, you go here. Gameplay, you go here, and game over, you go here. Okay, so these are all set now. Perfect. Now, case space tab dot start with splash colon enter break semicolon save. Okay, so what are we going to do with our splash screen? Where we're simply going to display a certain image for a certain amount of time. What's the perfect thing to use for stuff that stays there for a certain amount of time?
The logo.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Who made the game?
What's the perfect code for us to use for that sort of stuff?
Enumerators.
Yes, let's create a coroutine. So go enumerator space n. What do we call this one? Because this one could be fairly generic. Let's call this one generic weight. And request an int. And go weight. Call it weight. Close the round bracket. Open squiggly. Enter, close squiggly. Now inside it, simply say yield return new weight for seconds. Wait for seconds. Open round, wait. Close round, semicolon, save. And now we should, now that I realize that this isn't necessarily the best of ideas, so let's change this one from generic weight to splash routine. Yeah, save. And after we've done the splash, we go call change game state. Open round and game state dot. We go to title. Close round. Yeah, semicolon. Save. Okay, so that's perfect. And right here, what we're going to do is, well, so before we do that, we're gonna go through all of the screens and disable them all. Okay, so copy this. And to go through all of the things, the best code is a loop. So go for int I is 0, I lower than paste dot length, I plus plus. No, things are breaking.
Oops, I put a bracket here. I'm not supposed to put a bracket there. And I'm supposed to put a semicolon.
Close the round, open a squiggly.
Am I supposed to put a semicolon there?
No.
I'm
Open
getting
it
confused
quickly.
at the floor.
Enter, close. Okay. Paste again. I
Oops.
dot set active. Open round. False. So every time we change screens, all of the screens are gonna go inactive. That's the first thing. Then here we're going to say screens. Open screens. Open square bracket, and now feed it. Cast it as an int, so round bracket int, close round bracket, G. Close square bracket.
Oops.
Dot set active true. Perfect. And here now we're gonna call our splash routine. So simply say start coroutine. Coroutine. Open round. Splash routine. Yeah, open round. Now wait a moment. We're gonna need a serialize field. Private int. And splash time equals 3 semicolon. Save. Okay. Splash time. Close round. Again. Semicolon. Okay. Now let's go to case space tab dot title. Yeah, colon. Enter break. So what should we do in the title? In the title we should click on a certain button to continue, or simply click to continue. Right? But let's go and set up a few of the objects first, and also let's take a look at our start. So you see our start is doing a bunch of things. It's a big sea of things. Now some of these things are legitimate to be in start, but most of these things, well, actually, I don't know. Yeah, I think most of these are fine. The ones we don't want is these. Set up players, set up turns. These. Oh, we got 2 setup color hexes. Huh? Did we hack this? Is there a reason why there are 2? This makes no sense. If we've done it before, it makes no sense we do it again. Save. I may regret this, but too late now. So, okay, so all of these look like they're specific to starting a match, whereas the other ones are all they're all system things. So we're gonna cut all of that. Cut that. Yeah, and let's see what the situation here is. Yeah, so set up color hexes, set up players, blah, 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 set up deck, and create void, set up match, open round, close round, open squiggly, enter, close it, paste, save. So now we're gonna have to call setup match, meaning that now at the start, the match is not getting set up yet. Save. Okay, so, and we're not gonna set it up yet at all. This will need to happen later. Okay. So for now, this is pretty good. And now we need to go and create a few things. So we've got our gameplay screen and it's ready to go, basically. So we don't need it anymore. But we need to look into the splash screen. So for the splash screen, we need to add a logo, right? Now, for now, we're simply gonna add a temp logo, okay? But later, I'm gonna get us, you know, a logo that we can use, right? I haven't had the presence of mind of actually looking into that prior. I didn't do it. So let's see what we got here in our textures. Got dollar. Oh, we still have this swap thing, which we've never used. Goodbye. No breaks. Okay, dollar.
Then we've also got the car icon.
Car icon, that one we've never used either. Goodbye. Okay, so let's just use the dollar sign for now. Or no breaks. Yeah, sure, whatever. So, in Splash, we're gonna create a 3D object this time and a quad. What is a quad? A quad is just sort of an empty square. That's it. Okay, so now the reason why this is not visible at all is because it's too close to the camera, right? Let's see how far the board is from the camera. It's about 11 or something. So it's got really, really weird coordinates, but that's okay, not a big deal. This one is actually quite clear. It's a 2.5 away. So let's try and take our quad and put it at 2.5. Now let's see how this looks like in the game. Okay, it looks like this. So that's not big enough. So let's move it a little bit closer. There, that'll do. So 1 looks pretty decent. Okay, so now we've got this. Now we're gonna need a material for it. So let's see, we got board, cards, BFX, player. Let's create new one, call it logos. Hit enter. And here we're gonna go create material. Rename this one to splash screen, or just splash. Yeah, it'll do. Hit enter. Okay, now let's drag splash onto our quad. Rename this one to logo. Hit enter. Okay, now the splash thing needs a thing. Now we also need to change its rendering from opaque to fade. Now this won't really be clear, so I'm gonna change the actual icon to something different. Yeah, there we go. These are pretty good from TextMesh Pro, right? So you can see that where they are transparent, they're not visible. That's because I chose fade. If I choose opaque, then that's not there. Cutout works, but it makes it really, really harsh. And transparent should work. I guess not as I expected, but fade works perfectly, right? So wherever you have the alpha, that's where the thing is displayed. Now the reason why this looks so ugly is because the definition of the picture is too low. Okay. If we take a picture that's higher in definition, let's see how big this is. It's 128. It's minuscule, right? So that's why it looks so ugly. But we're gonna have a proper logo next time, and it's gonna look much better.
Don't you have them?
I do, but I don't want to go through all of the folders and all of that. We'll do it. I'll do it next time. There. Ugh. Speaking of ugly, jeebs. Okay, I'm gonna put this circle. How's that? No, this. No, this. No, this. Yes, I'll put that.
That's the light thingy.
Sure. That's the default particle for Unity. All right. So it's here. Okay. So now what we need to do is in start. At the end of start here, we need to actually change the game state to splash, right? We need to go right there. So go change game state.
We should also have a sound for the
Open round.
splash
Tab.
thing.
Dot. Many splash screens don't really have a sound.
We
Close.
always have a toom at the start of it.
We could. Well, I don't know. Save. I'm not that bothered. Right? So now, what we expect is we expect to see this for 3 seconds, and then it should go away. So just to make it a little bit clearer, let's add a text. Okay? So...
Why is that gray?
Because it's inactive. So where is it? I think it's overlay. That's a text. Okay, duplicate this overlay. Let's drag it into the splash screen. Oops, I don't think I put it in. There it is. Okay, and here type learning things. Okay, learning things. So let's now check what the situation here is. For some reason the gizmos aren't showing the outline. I'd really like to see that outline, but I think it's just humongous. It's just massive. That's what I expect. So let's start reducing the width. There we go. That's what I thought.
It was huge.
Okay, so 3. And height, we're gonna do 1. And now we're going to auto size. That's good. So let's reduce the height a little bit. Okay, so the height will not do much for us, but the width will. Okay, so 2, and it's line breaking, which we do not want disabled. The problem is the minimum, so we're going to change the minimum to 1, so it's now going to auto size correctly. Now let's drag it down a bit, like here, for instance. So -1. There, learning things. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this. 2. I'm actually going to hide them all. So I'm selecting shift. Okay, so they're all hidden. Now as soon as we hit start, splash should appear. Stay there for 30 seconds, and then we should get to the other screen, which is completely invisible for now. So let's see. Okay, so the splash screen appeared, and it's disappeared after 3 seconds. Okay, that's good. Awesome. Now we need to go to title. I just realized that something is a bit silly the way we've done it, because in the end of the day, every time we change screen, the screen is going to get active. So cut this, paste it here. Also here, say game state equals G. No, not that one. Potato. Variable game state equals G. So we are correctly assigning it semicolon. Okay. So the only thing Splash is doing is starting the coroutine, and then the same function is actually changing the screen slightly after. But I mean, it's within the same frame. So save. Okay. Now for the title, we again need to go and construct a title. So I think that the splash screen is pretty good. So we're gonna take these things and duplicate them and put them in the title. So hold shift, hit Control D, drag them into the title. Okay, so now let's make the title visible. So this logo is going to have to be not the company logo, but the game logo, right? Or something.
We don't have a game logo.
I know we don't. We are going to simply invent it, basically, same as we did before. So logos, duplicate splash, rename it to game name, drag it to here, rename this to simply logo without the 1, and rename this to overlay without the 1. Yeah, but you didn't hit enter. That's better. Now you can save. Okay, so there's the logo, and it's got game name, and game name is fine, but we need to change its picture, and this time we're literally gonna put something else, right? Now for this one, I think we're gonna make it a little bit smaller. So we're gonna say 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, and then if we need more room or whatever, or doing other more complicated things, we can. Okay, so there we go. Now instead of learning things, here we're gonna say click to start. Start. Okay, save. Yeah, you can put 3 dots if you want. Save.
I was just gonna put mine.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a very, very old school technique, which I have used in my latest game jam as well, to indicate to the player that they need to do something to continue. We're gonna flash the text.
Okay.
Okay, and what do we do to do things over time?
Coroutines.
Another coroutine, that's right. So, in order to do that, we need to store a few variables. And yes, so go serialize field, private.
Wait, put the brackets.
And now it's not going to remember, so you need to... Okay, I'm doing it the long way. field, close square bracket, private, and I think it's text mesh pro. Text mesh pro. There you go. And space, and call this one text underscore title. Instructions. Semicolon. Save. So the issue that we're gonna have here is that we need to launch this coroutine, but then we should also stop it whenever we return to this screen, meaning that we're gonna need a private coroutine coroutine core title semicolon. Save. All right, copy this, and we're gonna do the usual check to see if it's running, and we're gonna do it right here. So you go if open round, paste,
Oops.
paste. Oh, you hit Control C. You need to type it now. Undo, undo. Yeah, so start typing core title. That's the one. Copy is not. Null. Close. Open. Enter. Enter. Close. Stop coroutine. Open. Paste. Close. Semicolon. Paste. Wait, we don't have it. So I enumerator. Yeah, and go title routine. Open round, close round. Enter. Yeah, exactly. Save. Okay, now question. Dun, 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 dun. How do we make a loop that goes on forever, but that it's not an infinite loop?
A loop that goes on forever. This one, infinite loop.
Yes. An infinite loop is a loop that is not able to exit itself within a frame, and then your game crashes. So we don't want that. But we do want a loop that just carries on.
Well, it can't be a for because a for does end.
That's right. A for has an end.
Or
so
a while because a while is basically a question.
Well, but that's exactly the point. While, what would be the answer to the loop continuing forever? If you hear weird noises, it's because the other children are playing in other rooms.
I don't think it would be a while.
It is a while. So type while.
Why would it be a while?
Or a 3 will you click. Wow.
The only part of this
Today!
that's correct is the while. Is the while.
Open round, so you need a condition. Now what condition always returns true?
What condition can do
Yeah.
returns to?
Yeah. You can actually do silly things here.
So what do you mean by silly things?
Check this out. What's the result of that condition?
It's always 2 is
If 2
always
is always
equals to
equals to 2.
It's always equals to 2.
Yeah. What about or this? Right? So these are always true, which means what we can do is simply say tray or true. So save. So as long as it's true, continue doing it. Means do it forever. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do now. What we're gonna do is the following. We are going to take that text. Let me minimize this because it's a little bit annoying. So copy this. Paste it here. Yay. Dot. Set text. Open round. Quote. Click to start.
Doing the holding, the non-holding is shift again.
Quote. Yeah, quote. close round, semicolon, save. Okay, so we've set the text. Now we're gonna wait. So copy this, paste it here, so 1 second. Okay, now copy all of this, paste it here, and change this one to an empty. Save. There we go, done. Core title equals, just equals, type equals. Start coroutine.
Sired.
Start coroutine, open round, copy, paste, open, close round, semicolon.
Title
Semicolon.
routine.
Yeah, we'll fix it. Save. Control R twice. Save. Okay. So now we're launching the routine here. Well, we're stopping it first just to make sure, and then we launch the routine again, and then it should flash the text. That's really it.
Okay.
And that's all correct. So give it a save. And then in our update loop, we're gonna have to check for input for when a click is delivered. Actually, we'll do it in the input manager, I think. So let's take a look at our input manager. It's got an update loop. So this one is all during gameplay. So go switch. Yeah, open round. Game manager dot script dot game state. Dot game state. 2 down. Close round. Open squiggly. Enter. Close squiggly. Case. Tab. Dot title. Colon. Enter break. Semicolon. Enter. Case. Space. Game state. Dot menu. Colon. Enter break. Case. Game state. Gameplay. Or game over. Sure, it's fine. Alright, gameplay. No, it's lowercase p. Colon. Enter break. And the last one is game over. Colon. Enter break. Semicolon. Save. So all of our previous input applies to what state?
All the previous input applies to gameplay.
So cut it, paste, save. Okay, now we can keep this if, so copy this, paste it here, close, hit shift tab on this break, and here we're simply going to say game manager dot script dot change game state or change state, whatever. Change state. Okay, notice why is it not appearing in the list?
It's not private.
Yeah, it's private.
I mean, it is private.
So let's go and set the function to public. Type the word public space.
Wait.
Space. Okay. Now back to the input manager. Type ch and it should appear. Yeah. Tab. Open round. Tab. Dot. Menu. We go to the menu when we click close, semicolon. Okay, so here we go. Now we're gonna hit play, and we should go to the splash screen, waiting for a bit. Click to start null reference. Okay. We don't have that text stored. I'm about to sneeze. My apologies. Oh boy. Alright, so game manager, that gave me some pizzazz. Title instructions. There they go. Let's rename this one to title instructions just so we don't get confused. Title instructions. Enter. Save.
That really looks out of character. That we're gonna have to change that.
Okay, so learning things. Click to start. and it's flashing, right? Every 1 second. We could possibly make it a bit different. So we could make it say flash for 1 second, then flash away for half a second, then flash back in. Anyway, it's not a big deal for now, but we can now click and we are in the menu.
Which is nothing right now.
Now notice that this one is continuing here. It continues doing it. Okay? Now the reason why this is because we never stopped the coroutine. So let's change something here. Here, say game state lowercase equals space tab dot which one?
Menu.
What?
Not
no,
game over.
that's ridiculous.
Menu.
No, we're not in the menu yet.
Wait, so first there's the title, then there's the menu though.
Yeah, but first there's the splash screen. Then we move to the title. This click to start is in the title. So as long as we're in the title, say.
Oh. The click to start is still the splash.
So let's observe it again. Let's just test that it works because it should exit the while at that point. So here it says click to start for now. Okay.
And it's not even flashing.
So it's never gone there. All right. So the reason why that's happened is because the coroutine starts before the game state is changed. So cut this. Put it here. Save. Okay. Remember, the order of the code is all important. All right. So now let's observe it. So you see it's written wrong. Now it's written correctly. Flashes out, flashes in, flashes out, flashes in. And now it stays. It's done it the last time, and now it stays. Okay, so we've stopped that coroutine from continuing. That's good. So that's done. Now we're finally in the menu, which means that you and I need to start working on our menu. Hit Control MO just for my peace of mind. Save.
I don't think there was anything to close.
No, there was stuff down here. Just in case we need to navigate down. Alright, so now in the menu, what we are going to do is we are going to keep, say, an icon of the game somewhere on the side of the screen, and then 4 buttons. One for each player. So for the buttons, it's actually not obvious how to deal with the buttons.
Yeah, plus we can't have 4 mice.
No, but that's not the point. The mouse is going to control everyone, but you still decide how many players you're going to play with. And we did say, by the way, that we were pondering the possibility of making more than 4, which should be interesting, but we'll worry about that some other time. So for now, we just need to decide to be able to we're going to need to be able to select one of the buttons. And there is no obvious way other than raycasting from the mouse position on the screen into the world. And therefore we need colliders on the buttons. We may need rigid bodies on the buttons as well, I'm not sure, but I think so, in order for the raycast hit to be registered. So yeah, let's go ahead and create that. Okay, so duplicate, hold shift, click here, duplicate. Okay, now drag these into menu. Again, we're gonna hide the title. We're gonna display the menu. We're gonna rename this to logo and rename this to title instructions, except not title, but rather menu instructions. Yeah, now just put some text here where it goes like, how many players, question mark.
Where is it?
Save. Okay, so let's move this logo, let's make it even smaller. 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. Okay, and we're gonna move it here and here. So minus 0.8, 0.35, sure, that's good enough. And now we need to create the buttons. So duplicate logo. Rename this one to 2 players. So just type 2, the number 2. Oh, sure, that's fine too. Yeah, 2 underscore players. Let's call it that way. Players. Yeah, okay, so 2 players. Now, this one is going to need a different material. We don't have a UI folder, let's call this one UI. Yeah, enter. Create material button.
Butt.
A butt? You want to create a butt? Whoa, that's dodgy. Okay, no. Boink. There we go. Okay, so let's give our button, don't know,
I'm really being loud out there.
a color. Yeah, that's how I need to work when you guys are out there making chaos. It's lovely, isn't it? Sure, I don't
Give
particularly.
the colors of the players: red, yellow, orange. Not orange, blue, and green.
Sure, but we just want to make buttons for now.
Okay.
That does matter. Okay, now I'm going to do something that is not ideal, which is change the size of the quad, right? Obviously, we're doing this quickly, so it doesn't particularly matter, but normally it's not advisable. The reason why it isn't is because changing the size of things increases draw calls.
What's that?
So it does make them batchable. It's complicated. So the graphics card needs to decide how to draw things on the screen, okay? And when it does that, it tries to batch things, meaning it takes things that are the same and draws them only once, all of them. If you have different things on the screen everywhere, like different materials or different meshes or different sizes of the same thing, they all count as a single draw call. So it needs to be drawn once. And the more draw calls you have, the slower the graphics card is going to perform. And it's not going to be able to do all of it fast enough for you to keep a steady frame rate. You're going to start seeing choppy frame rate. Most games that are choppy, well, at least that people who are new to game development make, have really poorly optimized draw calls. Now our game will not have that problem because it's such a small game. But for example, on your board you have 62 tiles, right? According to the graphics card, you don't. The graphics card thinks that every single tile that is a copy of the other, and it's a perfect copy, is the same draw call as all the others. So if you have 6 different tiles, you have 6 draw calls, as opposed to having 62 draw calls. But if every tile was slightly larger, slightly smaller, slightly weirder, there would be additional draw calls. And 6 is very cheap, and 62 is a lot less cheap, 10 times less cheap. Okay, anyway, short lesson over. We are going to duplicate this text here, put it inside the 2 players, and reset its position.
How many players?
So as you can see, it's now weird. The reason why it's weird is because I've changed the size of the quad. That's the issue. That's why you do not want to do this. So what I'm instead going to do is I'm going to put the menu instructions out. I'm going to reset them again. Okay, and I'm going to put the button in the menu instructions. So the button can have a different size, but the text will remain static. Again, these are all hacks. You want to do this properly. So put here 2_players text. Yeah, enter and rename this one to button. Yeah, this is going to be despicable.
What does that mean?
Okay, I've changed my mind one more time. I've changed my mind again. All right, let's create an empty. Rename this one 2 players. 2_players. Yeah, enter. Button. Text. Okay, now we're gonna reset everything because otherwise it's gonna be very, very sad. Sure, reset. And there it is. Okay, so now it's too close. So you see this sort of flickering?
Yeah, it says add block, right?
No, Z fighting. That's what it's called. Z fighting. Okay, so the button, we're gonna make you smaller.
There, many plus.
I just realized something. We forgot the mesh collider on all of the quads. Type the word quad here.
Kadoki.
And you need to change this to type. Oh no, that's a mesh filter. Ah, that is dumb. Okay, so I'm going to remove this mesh collider. And I think the others are all the logos. So we're going to remove this mesh colliders too. Okay, that's better. So back to our button. There it is, here in the middle. So we said we want it to be fatter, longer or something.
Why is it going in the menu?
Just ignore it.
Okay.
0.6, let's do this to 0.15. And sure, 0.15, it's Z is irrelevant. Okay, now the text is currently exactly on the same plane. So we're going to lower its Z position by 0.01. Whoa, I put a 3 there. And now it's overlapping because it's further in front.
It's also way too big.
Yeah, working on it. Apparently when you reset that, it makes it humongous. Okay, so there is that, and this one's 0.5. So the width of the text needs to be the same as the button or about the same, usually a little bit shorter even, so let's do 0.5, that's pretty good. The height, 0.1, sure, that'll do. Now 1 is still too large, so let's reduce this to 0.5. Okay, now it fits. All right, and here you would type 2 players. Yeah, okay, so this is our little button. Now it needs a few more pieces. We need to give it a box collider, so type box collider and rigid body. I've already got it. Okay, so there it is. Now as you can see, this box collider is far too fat, far too large. The reason why this is it doesn't know how to decide what to fit. Okay, so again, because we're doing hackatoons here, we're just going to hack it. We're going to make it a little bit narrower, 0.05 or something. Okay, now let's look at it from the top. About, let's make it a little narrower on the X. Okay.
Okay.
Now, pro tip, you can actually leave it a little bit fatter than it's supposed to be, so you give players the ability to sort of miss by a bit and still hit it. Now the Y, okay, same thing, 0.2. Okay, these are pretty decent dimensions. And there we go, our button is ready. Okay, now duplicate 2 players, rename it to 3, and remove this. Okay, wait a moment, hold Control, undo actually first, Control Z, now hold Control. Actually, I've changed my mind, hold Control now. Okay, release Control. It's going far too fast. Okay, we're gonna put it here, 0.3. And players we're gonna put at 0.1. Oh, I made a mistake. My bad. Boop. There we go. And now the third one. So this one, let's just change the text so we don't get confused. Put a 3. And now duplicate 3 players. So this one should be at minus 0.1. Rename it to 4. I've got it. And remove this. Backspace, enter. Okay. And let's
change the text to 4.
Text to 4. Okay. Save.
Oh, sorry. No enter there. That's still 3.
Okay. Save. Okay, so here's a little menu. We're gonna make this text flash again. We should probably have a button to quit as well. So let's duplicate this button and rename this one to quit. Yeah, hit enter. Now I'll tell you another thing. I don't quite like that they're all just flung there, so we're going to create another game object called this one buttons. Hit enter. Okay, hold shift, release. Into the buttons you go, and now quit. We're going to drag it to the top right corner. So right there. So 0.85, 0.45. Now what do we need to do to this one? We need to reduce the size of the button. Let's do 0.15. A square would be perfect for that. Text, put a big X.
X.
go. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting issue that keeps on happening on Text Pro, yeah. Whenever you have an italic text that's by default italic, you will get this thing that it's sort of like warped a little bit to the right. I don't know if Stefan is aware of this. Probably is. Maybe he's already improved it. I don't know. But yeah, at any rate, we're going to put this of 0.1. And what we need to do is we need to like misplace it a little bit. Yeah, so we need to be careful. How far did I go? 0.03, 0.01. Okay, it's already looking more like it's in the center. 0.015, too much. 125. Okay, that looks good. Right, so there we go. You see, it's quite a bit moved from the center. I have to do it in all of my games. It's a bit annoying, but there you go. But it's interesting. I can see. It's one of the reasons is perspective. We've moved it far too far forward compared to the thing. So instead of 0.01, let's add another 0. And now it's a lot closer, so it should be a bit better. But so it must be that I did this in other places too, right? So now let's just go to this one, hold shift. Control, yeah, my bad, thanks. And put a 0 here, okay, and now we're more centered with everything. Good. All right, so our buttons are here. They're all the quit button too large in the collider. Forgot that. So let's do 0.2. There we go. Okie dokie. So save. Now one thing that we are going to do for this is we are going to give all of our buttons a new layer, because that way we can just mask for them when we click about.
We haven't made one layer.
That's true. Put underscore button.
Why are the two empties?
I'm not sure. Those are all default there. They're all built in. I'm not sure what they do. Unity doesn't allow you to access them. So now we're going to go to the buttons and we're going to select button here. Now it's going to ask you, do you want to make all the children buttons? Yes. So now all of the colliders are buttons too. Right? Because that's actually what matters to us. Okay, so give it a save. All right. So there's our menu. We ran out of time, so we will do this stuff next time. We will add the logos and we will continue working on this stuff. But we're getting there, right? So I think the main learnings for today, just to show people, are... what happened?
Material, none. Oh wait, that's Mesh Collider. Splash, let's see. It's there.
What in the world's happening? That's funny. So, where is this logo? Eh?
It's invisible?
Yeah, not sure why.
It's got a line in the middle of it.
Control Z? Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's just the mesh. Or actually, it's got the mesh collider. Wait a moment, didn't I? Oh, I removed the mesh filter, not the mesh collider. What a fool. That's funny. Okay, so...
Daddy.
Well, you know how it is. Sometimes your daddy is a bit slow. This logo is correct, but I didn't remove this. These should be correct. Okay, so now these two logos, they need a mesh filter. So type F. Mesh filter. Okay, drag it at the top. There we go. And we need a quad. There. Now it should work. Yes. Actually, there's something that's bothering me. This logo is too low. How did we move this logo to 0.15? Yeah, I'm gonna do the same here. Save. Okay. So the learning for today is how to use coroutines to sort of move among things and give a bit of
this doesn't work.
Whoa!
Whoa! We forgot the kinematic.
That's true. That's true. All of our buttons are affected by gravity. Goodbye.
I was like, so this won't work.
That was funny though. Okay.
That won't.
Click. And there we go. There are buttons. They currently don't do anything. Ah, I forgot that the quit button is now too far. This is bothersome. Bear in mind that, by the way, you need to pay attention to your own screen ratio, right? So right now, it will work in 16:9, but this game will not work in 4/3. This is just something that needs to be understood. That's a bit of a pain dealing with screen ratios. It's something that you do when you have a much more complete game. But anyway, okay, so we're done for today, and we will continue this next time. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.
See ya.